All right. And while we're waiting for all of our attendees to populate, Chris and I are just going to hang out here for a minute until we see some people start to join us, and then we'll go over some housekeeping items about how to interact with the webinar and how to get your questions answered and all that good stuff. So I see we've got some people starting to join us now, so that's wonderful. Welcome to everybody so far. So I'm Anne, obviously, and Sarah's hopping on in a minute. She's having technical difficulties. That happens even to the best of us, I guess. And so Chris Case from Petafix is going to join us to answer all of your questions specifically about the product at the end. So make sure that if you have questions while we're hearing the presentation, type them into the Q&A box or the chat box so that you don't forget them, and we'll address them all at the end. And okay, we've got some people online now, so we're just going to wait about another minute or two. A lot of times it takes people, some time to join via Zoom. So while we're waiting, you can go ahead and play around with your Zoom controls. So if you're looking at your Zoom screen and you see at the bottom, it should say like chat, Q&A, maybe some interactions, things like that. So, or reactions. So you can play around with those things and just make sure that you can operate it. So the reactions are to clap or provide applause. And let's see what else we've got here. Sarah's favorite is the celebration one, which I never realized, but it's called ta-da. And then we've got thumbs up. So those little reactions just help, remind us that you guys are here and with us. All right. So it's 8:02. All right, Chris. So tonight we're going to talk about new solutions for offloading plantar pathologies. Dr. Short recorded this with us, a little while ago when you guys were still kind of getting all your things in order before you launch this product. And he isn't able to join us tonight, but he recorded this presentation and it's just full of good information. So Chris, what's the reaction been from your customers now that you've launched this product?
Probably the most interest we've ever had in a new product in our 130 some odd year history. So it's been very exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I love it when companies that have been around for a long time launch new products because it keeps the company relevant, and also especially a product like this that's innovative and just customizable for all kinds of different patient issues. So it's very exciting. I'm happy that we could be a part of it, with you. All right. So without further ado, just a reminder, if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A or the chat, whatever you like, and we will answer them at the very end. So we are going to get this show on the road. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tim Short. I'm a practicing surgical podiatrist from Ochsner Health in New Orleans. Today, I'd like to discuss a new solution for offloading plantar pathologies. Next slide. As foot and ankle specialists, we see many patients with plantar pathologies in our practice. These can include symptomatic skin conditions and lesions such as painful hyperkeratoses, verrucous lesions, porokeratosis, to name a few. In addition, plantar musculoskeletal pathology commonly presents as well, such as capsulitis, sesamoiditis, and bursitis. These are all causing pain and more severe foot problems, only discouraging our patients from an active lifestyle. Next slide, please. As we know, plantar foot pain can occur in the forefoot, midfoot, and rear foot regions, and causes can range from dermatological, musculoskeletal, or even neurological sources. Along with the typical treatments for plantar pathologies, including debridement, topical and oral medications, as well as shoe gear changes, we typically treat these patients with offloading pads and over-the-counter devices, which frequently demand our time-consuming adjustments and modifications. In the past, we've all spent our critical clinical time hand fashioning, accommodative, and offloading insoles, pads, and other devices to effectively reduce pressure and friction on targeted plantar pathologies. Sometimes we literally carve out and cut the bottom of an existing shoe insole or over-the-counter orthotic to adequately offload sensitive and painful areas to reduce friction, even potentially preventing ulceration when considering our neuropathic and diabetic populations. Ultimately, these homemade insoles are very time-consuming to fabricate, often cosmetically displeasing, and function with limited effectiveness and longevity. Unfortunately, this only leads to more time consumption with arts and crafts and less clinical time and profitability. Next slide, please. This specialty-wide dilemma we all face has inspired a new treatment alternative that is helping me care for my patients with plantar pathologies more successfully and more efficiently. It uses the proven removable peg offloading insole design that most of us are familiar with from its use in wound care. However, these new insoles are comfortably designed for the simple use in your patient's everyday shoe gear. As you see daily as I do, patients are much more compliant with offloading modalities that allow them to wear their regular shoes. Also, these are especially helpful for those who are not compliant with other treatment options, such as post-operative shoes, orthopedic boots, or even total contact casting. Next slide, please. Again, offloading pads can be bulky, time-consuming to make, and difficult for patients to reproduce on their own. Next slide, please. Along with myself and other specialists in favor of this effective technology, the PediFix Foot Care Company is now introducing the new pressure-off customizable offloading insole to podiatrists and other specialists around the country to help them relieve patients' common plantar pathologies and even more complex issues such as diabetic hotspots, ulcers, and ulcerations in remission to prevent exacerbation and recurrence. I truly believe these insoles will help save many patients from pain and suffering caused by plantar conditions and play a critical role in the salvation of both limb and life among our diabetic patient population. Next slide, please. Pressure-off insoles will soon be available in various thicknesses and material combinations well suited to differing patient needs. Overall, they are an effective, economical, and easy solution to common plantar pathologies. As Dr. McGuire researched and often emphasized, any offloading is helpful, and these new insoles make it easy to help my patients relieve a variety of plantar conditions. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Tim Short, proud to have helped develop this new treatment option. Now to address some frequently asked questions. How thick are pressure-off insoles? They are currently available in 3 thicknesses, ranging from 6 millimeters to 9 millimeters, and that's about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 inch thick. How much can they offload? The removable pegs which create the offloading effect range from 3 millimeters to 6 millimeters. Keeping in mind, even 1 millimeter of offloading is helpful to patients. Are pressure-off insoles sold singly or in pairs? They're sold as singles, as many plantar pathologies are not bilateral, and we didn't, from a patient cost standpoint, didn't want patients to have to purchase a pair if they only need one. Next slide. How will these fit into shoes? At less than 3/8 inch thickness, they don't take up much space. We typically remove the original shoe insole to make additional room like we do with most orthotics. And many patients who need these often wear accommodative and added depth shoes. Thinner styles of pressure-off insoles are designed specifically to fit in ordinary footwear. What is the lifespan of the pressure-off insole? That depends on patient's weight, activity, and so forth. By their nature, the cushioning materials to make them, namely Poron, Plastizote, and EV foams, will compress over time. Most patients get several months or longer usage, at which point they should be replaced. What sizes and widths are available? There are currently 3 trim to fit sizes, currently up to men's size 15. Both regular and wide widths are available, and all are scissor trimmed to the patient's precise size and width. How can patients get pressure-off insoles? Currently, they're only available from foot specialists. Non-dispensing practices can enable patient direct ordering via PediFix on a doctor's recommendation. The goal is to have over-the-counter versions available for patients to purchase through the PediFix retail network in the future. The goal also is to make them widely available to as many people as possible to help relieve unnecessary pain and suffering and help people with diabetes prevent hotspots and ulcerations. How much do pressure-off insoles cost. The physician price currently is $14 each. The suggested price to patients is $30. Some clinicians obviously will charge less and others perhaps more. And finally, what's been the response from your colleagues? The concept has been very well received by both colleagues and patients. The idea of a device that can easily be accommodated in a regular shoe while still providing offloading measures, I believe will be a game changer.
We're going to move into some questions now, and I actually have a couple questions. I'm always interested in how ideas come to life, So one of my questions is, Dr. Short, you mentioned that you were instrumental in coming up with this new offloading device. So for you and Chris, what was the process? Like, how did you determine that the industry needed something like this? And how did you think of, we've seen this done this way and it hasn't worked, here's how we want to do it? Kind of walk us through the patient need and the solution.
You want me to go first, Chris? Yeah, so when you're in the clinic like we are every day, you tend to, just like any other occupation or profession, you tend to find and think of ways that can make your life easier, make your day flow a little bit better, cut costs for yourself and patients, and ultimately alleviate pain, So basically knowing what we had with some of the wound care products that were out there with the same type of idea, it was just kind of a no-brainer to think, well, why can't we just do that on something that fits into a shoe? Because we're constantly battling, patient compliance and patient healing and, different factors that we're up against, that we're trying to make it as easy as possible for them. Not only so they get better, but so we can, see our patients get well. We've seen that with other devices in the past. We see it with surgical instrumentation. You name it, there's ways to improve things and ways to modify, certain ideas to make it more beneficial for what we're trying to accomplish. So just like we said in the presentation, really it's about doing arts and crafts in your office, right? And that's ultimately what we're doing. It's very difficult for patients to reproduce that, and it's not cost efficient for us or the patient. So that's kind of where I came up with some of the idea.
Chris, what can you tell us from like a manufacturing standpoint? Specifically, here's the question: who came up with the hexagon or whatever shape that is punch out? Like, what was the thought process behind that?
Thanks. That was actually a concept that had been developed previously, not by us. I can't take any credit for that. But Dr. Tim and myself and some other colleagues had the same idea of putting that technology of removable parts insoles into an everyday shoe insole. And that's where there was a great meeting of the mind. I'd been working on the concept for quite some time, and then discovered Dr. Tim and his partner, John Powers, who had come up with this concept years before I did. And we're just the ones who can help bring it to market by having it manufactured and make it widely available to podiatrists and their patients.
I think this is going to be more something that's going to be a device that the patient can actually alter and use themselves. And hopefully, like I said earlier, the goal would be over-the-counter options as well. But in the meantime, I think it's just going to be something that the doctors will dispense from their office and probably charge, their fee.
So Chris, I'm sure you get this question all the time about, how do I sell products in my practice without selling, and how do I train my staff and things like that. So over the years, what pearls have you come to know that you can share with us?
Thanks. For a lot of products, it often is a doctor's recommendation, and you stop at the nurse's station on the way out and pick up or purchase a product for your particular needs. For this device, since it has to be, ideally it's customized for the patient, the removable pegs are removed from exact spots underneath their plantar pathologies. It works a little differently. And so the doctor is probably going to customize this product to the patient, make sure it's comfortable, and then have them walk out the door with that in their shoes. And to follow up on Dr. Short's point, we expected this would be a cash pay item. It's everybody's dream to have products reimbursed and paid for by somebody else, but realistically, that's probably not going to happen here. So it is something that doctors will either dispense from their practices, or if their hands are tied in that respect, they will point a patient to and enable patient direct purchase from petafix.com or one of our other methods. So the patient can get the product directly from us if they can't get it directly from their caregiver.
Well, and usually I find that a lot of times the products that are not reimbursable are also usually cost effective as well, because it just kind of goes hand in hand that way a lot of times.
Right.
So looking at what you presented in terms of pricing for patients, it seems very, very reasonable. That I mean, I wouldn't see a lot of patients being like, if insurance doesn't cover it, it's not like this is blowing out anyone's checkbooks.
Yeah, that's the reaction that we've received where we've discussed the product at the few conferences where we've introduced it. The price tag didn't seem to bother anybody. It's lower cost than many treatment modalities. Certainly other options for addressing plantar pathologies are immensely more expensive. So this is an economical as well as an efficient and effective way to resolve those types of problems without getting into these high-priced products, some of which are reimbursable, some of which are not. But so far, the idea of the price does not discourage anyone from being eager to provide these to their patients.
I was thinking as you were presenting how much I would have loved to have had this product available. I think it was like last fall, my niece had a wart on the bottom of her foot that was like the size of a quarter. And she was just in a lot of pain. And obviously, you know, when they went to the podiatrist and went through all the necessary things. But I'm just like, dang it, for those handful of weeks where she was just in so much pain walking around, this would have been a great solution.
Yeah, we're hopeful that we can really help a lot of different problems. You know, at one end of the spectrum, it's diabetic ulcerations and ulcers that are in remission, and people with diabetes who have some hot spots or friction areas that are precursors to ulceration. And all the way to the other extreme where there's simple corns and calluses and skin irritations and verruca and other relatively minor conditions that are painful. And this is a very simple and convenient way to take pressure off those particular spots. So it has a really wide range of applications for podiatry practice.
This is a weird question, but I understand that, sometimes you might use these to offload a long-term condition, but sometimes you're dealing with a wound. And obviously with wounds, they can get a little nasty. So can you wash it and reuse it, or would you need to get another one when it starts to smell?
Some of the different top covers are more amenable to washing and can be cleaned quite readily. We have pour-on top covers that are a little bit easier to clean. We have a different version with a Plastizote top cover, which is a little tougher to clean. The good news is that both those types of covers are available in a replacement model. Essentially, we call it a supplemental top cover. So if they become soiled and or they become compressed, which is what happens to these materials by their very nature, a physician can order a replacement top insole only. And essentially, it's a self-adhering insole, and they can stick it right on top of the existing platform and essentially refresh or renew its cushioning capabilities and cover up any soil or dirt that might have accumulated on top of the original insole. So instead of having to buy an entire new insole just for $4 more, you can add one of these supplemental top covers, either pour-on or Plastizote. It gives more cushioning for patients who might need it, and it acts as a replacement for the existing device.
Yeah, on that same kind of concept, and maybe you've done this, Dr. Short, would it make sense to sell these in bulk to patients? So instead of, selling them in multiple versus, just 1, 2, or 3?
Selling them that way to the patient?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be an option or not. I mean, I guess potentially that could be an option, but I don't foresee a lot of patients really doing that. There may be a few patients that would do that. I know my patient population probably would buy 1 or 2 at the most, but that's certainly an option. And then, certainly for doctors' offices, more in bulk, and then that way they can just dispense as needed.
Right, because I was just curious, if I had my pair of walking shoes versus my pair of dress shoes, if I would want to be switching it out all the time, or if I would get an insole for each type of shoe.
Yeah, it's
Great,
kind of
good
similar
point.
to when you get an orthotic or something too, I mean, very rarely does someone buy, more than one set of orthotics at a time, but I have had patients to do it. But of course, those prices are way more costly than what
Right. That's kind of what I think. Like, I certainly, if I was a patient and I was buying a $500 custom orthotic versus a $30 insert, that I could afford that. I could do that.
Yeah.
You ask a very good question, and I think we don't have that much experience dispensing them just yet, but I suspect there will be patients who recognize that in certain types of their footwear, they can use one of the thicker, more protective styles. And if they want to be in more fashion-forward shoes, that they might have to choose a different style and thickness for those. And for that reason, they may indeed be interested in purchasing multiple pairs for different types of footwear. I think it's very likely.
So obviously you're removing the different parts based on the patient's need. Do you give those parts to the patient so that when they're all healed up and all better, they can put it all back together and use it as a regular orthotic, or what do you recommend?
That is my vision, that they will hold on to the pegs, and as their pathology shrinks or disappears altogether, they can reattach them to the insole plantar surface and have a full foot insole. So that is one indication. And for that very reason, one of our different designs features a Velcro reattachment system, predominantly for that purpose. So again, as the pathologies shrink, or for any reason they didn't put the offloading in just the right spot, you can add the plantar pegs back into the bottom of the insole very readily and make it whole again.
Awesome. Are these available now? You guys have them in stock, so if doctors wanted to get started, they're ready to go?
We've sold out of our initial supply of them. I'm hanging on to a variety of styles and samples that I can show at the trade shows, and we are expecting some very significant size deliveries in the weeks just ahead. But right now they are somewhat scarce because they have proven to be more popular than I even expected, and I knew they'd be popular.
That's awesome. I love it when that happens. It's always great to sell out of a product and be able to tell somebody, oops, sorry, you'll have to wait for the next shipment.
It's a double-edged sword. I wish I had enough product to accommodate everybody.
Like, diabetic patients can't wait. We got to get them rolling.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that is exciting though, that obviously at-risk diabetic feet are not at, they don't seem to be slowing down at all. So producing more of these is obviously, I'm sure, a giant priority, and that's exciting.
Yeah. How long did it take from Dr. Short, your idea of like, I see this need for this product, I see a product similar to what I need, but I'm going to make it better, to you connecting with Petafix and actually bringing it to market? How long was that process?
If I had to guess, I'd say probably about 7 or 8 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, but that's just because I kind of, it wasn't in the works that whole time.
Right.
I came up with an idea, and then it takes a while to get a patent, which I worked on for a while. That was the biggest, that was the bulk of the time consuming part. And then actually, was just reaching out to different companies on my own. And in the process, I started a new position with a hospital in New Orleans, and I kind of didn't necessarily give up on it, but it was on the back burner,
Right.
and Chris actually reached out to us through one of my nurses, and she's like, they're looking to talk to you. And ironically, even I had reached out to Chris, I think in 2017 through LinkedIn. So it's been a while since we just never connected. So it's just kind of one of those things.
Well, there's a time and a season for everything. I just love how things work out right when they're supposed to. So
when we do know on the back end, that we're helping communicate and make people aware of products that could potentially save limbs. I mean, that's a really big deal. So that's exciting. So thank you very much for, allowing us to spread the word.
okay, so for all of you that have joined me, hold on, I've got some videos playing in the background I need to get rid of. Okay, so we're back. So I love like watching those questions that we asked, 2-3 months ago. Now, Chris, I want to hear what's changed. First of all, are they in stock now? And second of all, since they've been out in the market, what issues or pathologies are physicians using to treat them with most often that you've heard?
First off, thanks very much for having me tonight, and thanks to everybody who's joining and looking to learn a little bit more about what I think will be a really helpful product for your practice. And to answer your question, we are in a better stock position now. We have 5 different styles of these. 2 of them are fully stocked, and a couple others we have a few sizes in stock, or out of a few sizes. Again, the popularity of the insoles have exceeded our expectations. And there's worldwide challenges in foam, access to foam materials and shipping delays and a number of other things working against us. But probably by the end of this month, we'll be fully stocked with all the different varieties of them. To answer your second question, that's been pretty interesting. When I first started working on this concept, I was really eager to help solve a lot of diabetic foot ulceration problems. Again, both pre-ulcerative, active ulcers, and ulcers in remission to remove pressure. And since then, people just keep giving me lists of things that they're using them for. One physician very recently sent me a picture of a device. He had offloaded the heel area for his own plantar fasciitis, and he found it was remarkably effective. And to be very candid, I didn't really think of that as one of its major applications, but this clinician proved me wrong. He's using it personally and using it in a unique way that helps offload his condition and brings him some relief. So it's really a broad, there's probably 20 different indications for use among these, from metatarsalgia to fat pad atrophy, just heavy callus buildup, IPKs, the list goes on and on and on. And it seems like we're finding that these are solutions to a variety of these problems, from simple non-life-threatening things all the way up to the diabetic foot ulcerations and worse.
Yeah. Sarah has joined us now.
Yes, I was having technical difficulties when we signed on. It was not my favorite time.
That's okay. So a couple questions came in while the presentation was rolling. One is, actually, they're very similar. How do we order? And one requested an email to more information on how they can order. So Chris, where should we direct people to? And I can drop it in the chat, and I'll also send out a follow-up email. So what's the best way?
Sure. So right now, the most assured supply is from us directly, Pathologies. You can call our toll-free number or online. Just go to the healthcare professionals aspect of our website. Upper right-hand corner is a little button to get you there. You can either register for an account or even evaluate these, look at for more information without registering. Just go to the healthcare pros section. So they're available from Pathologies. We're just now getting orders in from the major podiatry industry distributors. Gill Podiatry has placed an order. Henry Schein has placed an order. McKesson is on deck. And a few other companies that supply the industry, Federated, are also going to be stocking these items for the clinicians' easy access to them. They can order their supplies. So wherever they get most of their supplies, these will be available too. And very soon after, they'll be available directly to patients. I know a lot of clinicians out there are not able to dispense products in their practices. Real shame, in my opinion. Will soon be able to send patients directly to us to purchase directly for themselves on their doctor's recommendation. And they can do that online or via our patient direct order brochures, which a lot of doctors are familiar with. So they're available directly to doctors now from Pathologies, soon to be widely available from the distributors that serve the industry, and very shortly to be available directly to patients to purchase as well.
Awesome.
Did you already mention where you were going to be at the APMA?
We will be there, yes, as among the many dozens of trade shows that we support and medical conferences we support every year. We will have a big booth at the APMA conference coming up in Orlando at the end of this month. So anybody who's on tonight and is planning to attend that conference, we'd love to see you there, or at any of the other many conferences that we will be through the balance of this year, if we haven't seen you already at the dozen or so that we've attended.
Awesome. So for all of our attendees, if you're at your computer or on your phone or whatever, look for the little reaction button that says raise hand. So I want you to raise your hand, figuratively speaking, if you've ever done arts and crafts in your office, because Dr. Short mentioned this, and he's not the first physician I've heard that said that they've had to really configure some devices to work for certain patients. So Dr. Christian Tolbo, he says he's definitely done arts and crafts. Anybody else gluing things together? Peter Resnick, Stan. Good. Okay. So this is something that happens that you guys are spending time, or your staff is spending time to do, to make the perfect product, the perfect solution for your patient's problem. Jay Denal has done this. So, you know, this is a great alternative to arts and crafts in your office. So, all right. And one other thing that I really found interesting listening to this again is, you know, as human beings, and I'm sure as physicians, everyone has that idea for a product or service that, you know, I really wish the industry had this, or what if we had this, you know, available to patients or to make my office run more efficiently or something. And I know that Dr. Short said it took 7 or 8 years for his idea to come to market, but think about the impact that a new product could have on your patients and your practice. And so if you guys have, I just want to encourage everybody, if you have an idea, find a partner, you know, reach out to some of your vendors to find out if you can bring something to market, because like Chris, this is not, you guys have another product that another doctor helped, you know, bring to market, right? The First Ray Orthotics. Yes. Yeah, so I mean, obviously this is something that suppliers are doing. They're working with physicians to expand their product line. And I think that there's still room for new products and services.
How are physicians like displaying this in their waiting rooms or in their treatment rooms? Is there a specific program that they can use to really market these in their practices?
That's a very good question. Not just yet. We're working on those materials so that it can be in-office posters that pre-educate the patient before they even get to the treatment room. They've already seen a sign in the waiting room that suggests there might be some simple solution to their plantar pathology problem. And there'll be some treatment room posters and other support materials, if you will, brochures, patient brochures, as well as doctor brochures that make it easy for them to understand the concept and be willing to give them a try. But I think as most of our patients have found so far, they're amazed at how effective this simple concept is, that an insole in their shoe can offload their pathology, maybe not as effectively as a total contact cast or as a wound care, a thicker wound care insole in a post-op shoe, but quite effectively for a lot of people, again, with either minor pathologies or really significant ones that are life-threatening. Everything in between. And we've really had amazing reaction. We send these out to some patients who have begged us for them in advance of their being officially available. And I get thank you calls the day after they received it. They put in their shoe and they're offloaded. They don't have to do anything special. They don't have to wear unique footwear. They get out of bed in the morning, they get dressed as normal and put on their footwear, and their pathology is offloaded. And we have to make it as simple for patients as possible to be compliant. And this seems to be hitting the mark.
Yeah. All right. So we don't have, do we have any other questions in the Q&A? I don't think so. We answered them. I'm about to put together an email with the information on how to order, the numbers to call, you know, call your favorite distributor, call PetFX directly, that kind of thing. And Chris, speaking of the national, I think we talked about putting together a digital coupon book, and you mentioned Pressure Off. We're going to feature in that.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So if you are attending the national, be on the lookout for a digital coupon that you'll have to receive it in a special way, and it'll be for the Pressure Off insole. So you want to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And like, I love this coupon book because there's so many good offers in it. PetFX, and then just, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give too much away. Like, I want you guys to be excited about it. So just keep your eyes peeled because it's going to be exciting, and you'll be able to score with major savings at the national with this coupon book.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Chris, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that you've heard, you know, frequently asked questions now that we're out in the market? Any tips or pearls?
There's a lot of them. I'm not sure how much time you have tonight, but one thing that has been, people have been impressed by is the ability to both offload the bottom of the insole to protect or offload, take pressure, friction off of pathology. And or of course, you can use our traditional padding materials on the top. So again, in the confines of the patient's footwear, you can do offloading on both surfaces of the insole to get a really significant amount of offloading in a very limited amount of space. So there's not too much more arts and crafts for the physicians, of course, just to remove the pegs underneath the pathology spot and to use what the offloading materials and components that they've used throughout their careers on the top of the insole as well, giving them incredible effectiveness in a very small amount of space. And so far, these have been really a hit. We are continuing to work on the materials and the layers and try to get a more and more durable insole, again, but still using soft cushioning materials. So my name and phone number and email address is on the back of every single insert and every single package, soliciting feedback from patients and clinicians for how we can do it better. This is by no means our last design. This is only our first one and what we think is going to be a real successful product for you as clinicians and most importantly for your patients who suffer from plantar pathologies.
Awesome.
I love that you're like testing it. There's no, like
Yeah.
nothing's been set in stone.
No, we mimic these after the traditional materials that have been used in the marketplace, but I think there's some improvements that can come down the road and we'll continue innovating and making these better as we go forward.
Awesome.
Great. That's exciting. All right. So next up from Pedifix, we've got, which I'm kind of putting Chris on the spot because we haven't actually hashed out the details here, but they're going to be joining us for our Podiatry Expo coming up in August, and we're going to feature Dr. Oster's input on the first orthotics. That was a really great conversation that we had with him. So we're looking forward to bringing that. And then of course, before that happens, we'll see you all at the National. So we're excited for that. And you guys are on the road constantly. So just look out for the Pedifix booth. You can't miss it. I mean, your booth is always like
I love the
unmissable.
bread
You've
cake.
got those
The bread cake
high
is so
counters.
festive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, everyone. Well, if there aren't any other questions, which I don't see any, no hands raised, we're doing okay. Well,
Going
thank you,
once.
Chris, for joining us. Thanks for your time, and your help putting all of this together. And I'll send out a follow-up email with all the information that everyone needs to get more information and to order. So,
All right.
okay.
And Sarah, appreciate it.
I wish I was here at the very beginning, but I made it.
We'll
I made
forgive
it.
you. We'll forgive you. All right.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Good night.